IP of Bizarre Interest Productions. So, My Hero Academia wants justice. Yes, the Academia is the original name in Japan, but the title was changed because of copyright reasons that haven't been disclosed to the public yet, but looks like got solved for this game. And honestly, the game looks great. First, from the trailer, this is the first game in the franchise where the English dub voices will be there from the start. So, yeah, the first game only had subtitles, and the second game added the English dub voices in a later patch, so they clearly want everyone to feel the visual and audio overhaul. And Viking, for the most part, makes every fighter unique with their mechanics in every fighting game that they make, so you're not just pressing the same buttons or doing the same type of gameplay styles for each character. The question is, who's getting in? The second game added 17 new characters, and the DLC added 11 new characters for 28 in total. So far from the new trailer, we're getting a new Deku, a new Shigaraki, All Might with the Armored mode, and the remaining 6 characters from Class 1A, Seto, Toru, Koda, Ojiro, Sato, and Shoji. We don't know if the older variants are coming back, so let's just assume they're replacing the original counterparts. Counting Bakugo, Todoroki, Ida, Uraraka, Denki, Tsuyu, Mina, Kirishima, Jiro, Tokoyami, Momo, Mineta, Aoyama, All for One, Dabi, and Toga. So far, we've got 25 confirmed characters so far. Now, I could ask if everyone's coming back from the first and second games, but we don't know that for certain. So let's just focus on what new characters they could add. One's Justice 2 story mode went up to the Shihakase arc, and the DLC covered characters in a remedial courses arc, school festival, and joint training arc. So they either start from that content at the end of season 4 through season 7 and 8, and that's how we'll determine who has a chance of getting in. If you made it this far into the video, type maining Mirko and let's get started. First up, let's look at Class 1B, and there's one obvious character that has to get in, and that's Monoma. He's essentially the face of Class 1B alongside Tetsu and Kendo. The moveset will obviously be his own abilities plus the moves he's copied from other heroes and villains. And given Toga could turn into their opponent, his special ability might be stockpiling a quirk from their opponent, their assist, or his own assist. I think there might be a few more Class 1B students though, because they might cover the joint training battle arc and get at least one member from each round from their class. From the first round, the two obvious choices are Ibara, aka Vine. Her plant moveset writes itself, and Shishida, aka Geruvaden, who be able to transform into his beast mode. For round 2, we already have Battle Fist, but I can see them adding either Comic Man / manga, Kiniko, aka She-Mage, or Vanta Black, given how versatile and unique their power sets are, and Viking loves making unique features for their characters. Round 3, we already had Tetsu, but I can see them adding Juzo, aka Mudman. His power set can be environmental based and have different properties based on the stages, or just have him replicate what happens in the shows and manga. For round 4, I could see Lizardy getting in. She was the recommended student, and we've seen characters like Buggy be playable in fighting games before, so it's not too out of place, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I could also see Vlad King making a playable appearance. We've had Aizawa, Midnight, and Present Mike as fighters, and while we've had quirks that rely on blood, he manipulates blood to immobilize, reabsorb, blast, freeze, encase, and trap people, and it'd be cool to see how the developers use that in a moveset. So let's look at the other pro heroes. First up, Mirko is obviously getting in. She showed up at the end of Season 4, and I was shocked she wasn't in the DLC for One's Justice 2. It's probably because she didn't do enough for a moveset back then compared to Hawks, but this is coming around the same time Season 8 drops, and they've got more than enough material for her now. Next, obviously, has to be Stars and Stripes. Her treatment is one of the more controversial and memorable aspects of the post-war arc, and her fight with Shigaraki is something people still talk about to this day, so she gets in. I personally think Ectoplasm would work great as a fighter, but Twice already does the clone gimmick, though Ectoplasm's got better hand-to-hand and his giant clone has to be his plus ultra too. Plus, he helps out in the final war, but that's just a me pick. There's still 4 superheroes that have a better chance of making it in. First of those would be Best Jeanist. He placed 6 on the popularity poll. He took a sacrificial brawl against All for One, and managed to survive his injuries to return in the war and help out the heroes. Plus, his power is pretty unique and would have an interesting variety in their move pool. After him, I argue one of the lurkers has to make it into the game. There are easily 3 of the more popular pro heroes that aren't teachers, all of whom still got involved in major battles. The question is which one? Mount Lady is a tricky one because she mostly fights while she's giant, and swapping in and out between them could lead to limitations, although I think the developers could pull it off, though I'm not 100% sure. I could definitely see Edgeshot being playable. He's made a big role in the final arc. His folding abilities and ninja-like moves give him plenty for the developers to work with. Then there's Kamui Woods, and I feel like he'd be the easiest of the 3 to develop. Plus, I'd argue he makes the most sense. He's been with the show since chapter in episode 1, and almost every time we've seen him, he's either doing something cool, like how he helped out in the Hideout Raid arc, and rescued Mount Lady, restoring Gigamontia for a bit in the Paranormal Liberation War, and saved some of the students during the final arc. So I feel like at this point, he has to get in. Wait, there's one more hero I know you guys are going to be angry at me for including, but I can see it happening. Yoshindo. Okay, I can see this one arguing that is a sneak, but it does make sense when you think about it for more than 3 seconds. Yo usually ends up fairly high on popularity polls in Japan because of his Ikemen, aka Prince attire, and his personality somehow contrasting and fitting with his looks at the same time. And while he's around every now and then, he did fight Muscular and was actively using his license after the war. So I can see the developers using his Tremors abilities for his moveset. Though that one's going to be the talk of the video, huh? Now, let's move on to some of the villains. Gigamonti, I always say his name wrong. Gigantomachia is a weird case because he makes more sense as a boss battle. And the question becomes, outside of Merge Overhaul, is the game willing to have more than one boss or have a boss giant at all? He does play a big role in the war and final battles, pun not intended. So it depends on if they want to scale his body to fight on an even playing field, though it's definitely a maybe. Who is definitely a lock has to go to Spinner. Both games have had Dabi, Toga, Twice, Compress, All for One, Shigaraki, and Muscular. Magne might not have enough material to work with, even though they really shouldn't have killed them off in the first place. Moonfish and Mustard haven't been relevant in a while, and their movesets are already pretty limited as it is. And out of the Vanguard Action Squad members of the League of Villains, he's the only one left to be playable in the game, and he does have a pretty big role in that final arc, especially against Shoji. So yeah, he obviously has to make it in, and I feel like they are going to make his Plus Ultra 1 or 2 the mutation that he got from All for One. But then we got Redestro, who I'm shocked wasn't DLC for the last game at all. Considering the fate of the Meta Liberation Army in the manga, especially after Season 5, his actions are a key point in developing the League and the support that they get for the last arcs of the show. And his Stress Quirk gives him both augmented abilities alongside his armor, which would really make him a solid option as a fighter. Then there's Getzen, who's a weird case, in that he's got the move pool and attacks to make him play different than Todoroki since he exclusively uses ice. But I think he's a maybe given he gets arrested after the war, but he still managed to stand out in Seasons 5 and 6. So I can see the devs picking him for the game. Then let's get to who has to be a lock for the game, Lady Nagant. I mean, for the Dark Hero arc and her rifle abilities alone, she has to get in, especially given her allegiances, combat style, and role in the narrative when it comes to learning about some of the dark sides about Hero Society. Like, I feel like she's definitely one that's getting into the game in base roster. Now, let's get some wildcard choices. We might get a villain from the movies, and I haven't seen them all to judge, but I feel like either Nine or Dark might make the most possible options given their power sets. And in Dark Might's case, would probably be easier to reuse All Might's models for. Plus, Alchemy is pretty cool to use as a power set anyway, so that'd be fun to see how they incorporate that into gameplay. And finally, for the big question, will the Vigilantes be playable? Okay, I feel like Koichi, Hamawari, aka the Crawler, and Knuckle Duster have to get in. Like, their movesets work perfectly for a fighting game. I know people are going to argue that Knuckle Duster might not have enough for Plus Ultra 1 or 2, but they made Stain work, and plus Knuckle Duster does have his taser and everything he did against his daughter. Plus, there's some stuff that happens later on in the manga that's like, yeah, he has to get in. The only person I'm not 100% sure about is Pop Step. Like, don't get me wrong, I know she could fight, especially given later events that take place with Vigilantes, but it depends on what they're going to give her for a move pool now. But I feel like all three have to be locks in some degree. The main question is whether or not it's going to be for the base roster or if it's going to be for DLC. Alright, so I watched the development diary, and based on what they said, this is going to have the largest roster, so I think everyone else from the past 2 games that weren't in the trailer will be returning. For the locks of newcomers, though, I will say Monoma, Mirko, Stars and Stripes, Best Genus, Edshot, Spinner, Redestro, and Lady Nagant are locks. Add that to the characters we got confirmed, and that's 17 new characters similar to the last game. For DLC or surprises, I'd say the Vigilantes trio, Kamui Woods, at least one more Class B member or a wildcard choice will make it, but for now, that's my ultimate prediction. So, in the comment section below, tell me, who do you think is going to make it into the game? Are any of my predictions right or wrong, or am I just crazy and spouting nonsense? or if my choices are just bizarre, like the rest of this channel. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day, and BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.